For those of the Jewish faith, the high holy days of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur have just concluded. Now, Rosh Hashanah is both a time of rejoicing and of serious introspection, a time to celebrate the completion of another year while also taking stock of one's life. The 2 days of Rosh Hashanah usher in the 10 days of repentance, which are also known as the days of awe. All of this accumulates in Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, and this is the time of year during which the faithful are to atone for both individual and communal transgressions committed over the course of the previous year. Not only are they to reflect, they're also to plan on how to make changes for the coming year. And I really like this imagery. I think it's a refreshing approach to combine serious introspection with rejoicing. You know, that we live in this place that we can really look at what's going on in our life and rejoice in the fact that we're able to do so. And then I like also this idea to equate the need for recognizing that we may have acted in ways that require change, and to name this period of time of reflection the days of awe, that we can stand in awe of the fact that we need to make changes, you know? And I wonder, can we do this? Can we recognize that we messed up, and rather than punish ourselves with the weight of self-flagellation, can we acknowledge that we are human, that we are beloved, and that we can stand in awe of this recognition? That by taking stock of our lives, by taking responsibility for harms that we may have caused, we can change, knowing that we are held in a love that will not let us go. At the same time, while I love this way of making amends, of striving for a clean slate in a new year, the process of self-reflection and seeking or giving forgiveness may be a fraught process. Rabbi Jill Berkson Zimmerman expresses this so well in a prayer that she wrote for those who are not quite yet ready to forgive. She says, "The design of this season compels us to forgive, to open our hearts, and sometimes to re-experience wounds. Some of us have suffered profound trauma at the hand of parents, partners, or friends. They might be fresh bruises or from many years ago. They bubble below the surface, having been pushed away, but now reemerge in the quiet or the music or the prayers. Amidst the urgent pleadings of these days to wipe the slate clean and start anew, some of us are not sure of the path forward. To the person who has been violated and to the one whose spirit has been beaten down, and to anyone with a broken heart or a crushed soul who might not be quite ready to forgive, it's okay. Take your time. Sometimes the timetable of these holy days don't match the rhythm of your heart and soul. Sometimes our devoted prayers get intermingled with inner voices not quite resolved. Maybe it wasn't so bad. Just let it go. Let bygones be bygones. Be the bigger person. Or perhaps maybe I'm just being too sensitive. This year, love yourself enough to trust your own timing. Be patient enough to stay in the place of not yet. Trust that you will find your way. Trust that you will come to a time where holding on hurts more than letting go. Forgive yourself for not being ready yet. Give yourself the time and space to go at your own pace, to love yourself right where you are and as you are. From that place of acceptance, may you have faith that the path forward will open up. And for me, it's precisely that path forward that I am constantly wrestling with. Deep in my bones, I do believe that real liberation comes from the center of love. I believe that we cannot love enough. I believe that liberation comes at a place of true surrender when we can love out loud without limitations. Father Greg Boyle ponders this conundrum when he says, "What might our world be like if we chose to stand in awe of what folks have to carry rather than in judgment of how they carry it?" And this is a really difficult thing. I've had this conversation with different people who have said, well, there's no way I can ever forget or forgive, and you can fill in the blank. This particular person said Trump, and I don't know where you are in the political spectrum, but there are people that are just so far off the scale of possibility. But I think this process applies equally to both ourselves and to those others. What if we chose to stand in awe of the challenges that we have experienced, as well as the others that have done things that have been so very hurtful? Can we stand naked in a space that relinquishes judgment? What a deep practice of faith this requires of us. To suspend judgment for our own shortcomings, to suspend judgment for those who have caused harm. That's a real act of faith, a real practice of the Spirit. Father Boyle speaks from a place of decades of real-world practice, of standing in awe of the horrors of life that the many gang members he has mentored over the years have endured. He has witnessed the harm and destruction that many of those same people that he mentored have caused. People have done horrific things to one another. He recognizes that an essential component in moving toward wholeness for anyone requires taking responsibility for our actions. And he has concluded that it's not his job to judge them, but rather to build kinship whenever he can, and to invite the vulnerability of human-to-human relationship to emerge. I ask myself, does this apply to everyone in all situations? And on the surface, I say, nope. I can think of many people, just like I was saying before, who I judge, many people who I have a very difficult time imagining how to not judge. And if we look around, we have a system of law and order that is built upon making all kinds of judgment all the time on the surface. But what lies at the center of the deepest teachings of love? Is there a deeper wisdom accessible to us? Is there a place where we can truly love and be loved just as we are? My husband reminded me of a story told by the monk Thich Nhat Hanh, who helped American Vietnam vets heal from the atrocities they witnessed and they themselves committed. He did this knowing that many of these same veterans killed his loved ones and napalmed his own village in a war that he never supported. There was a time when an American vet came to him in the deepest of need. The veteran told the monk how he had sought revenge on a village he believed was responsible for the deaths of some of his friends. Knowing the villagers were hungry, he made sandwiches rigged with explosives, and leaving them just outside the village, he hid himself in the brush. He was not prepared for what came next. Small children, ravenous, took up the food and died horrible, writhing deaths before his eyes. And all these years later, the veteran, suffering unimaginably, begged the monk for absolution. "What can I do?" he wept and raged. Thich Nhat Hanh said, "We can do nothing about the past. We can only decide what we will do with this moment and the next and the next. He then suggested that the vet go forward and find hungry children and make it his life's work to feed them. And this is the place where I wrestle over and over. The space between the deepest love I can imagine for others, no matter what they may have done, a love that surrenders fully, and at the same time, a deep love for myself when I find I am not ready, not yet. I believe that we gather in sacred spaces like this to ask such questions of ourselves, to invite introspection, and to rejoice in it. I invite you to rejoice in your own introspection. I invite you to wrestle with it all, and I trust that all of you will find your way. Like Rabbi Zimmerman expressed, that you will come to a time where holding on hurts more than letting go, and that you will forgive yourself for not being ready yet. May we all come to a time when we know that our hearts live in the holiest of spaces.